The new ACT Science section is optional, so be sure to check your registration to see if you signed up for the Science section. If you are taking the Science section, you will have 40 minutes to answer 40 questions from 7 different passages. Most students start by reading the passage before they answer the questions on the Science section, and this is a huge mistake. 6 of the passages are going to be full of charts and graphs, and the questions will tell you which chart you need to interpret in order to get the question correct. Only 1 of the 7 passages will be primarily text, not graphs, and for this passage, which is called the Conflicting Viewpoints passage, you should probably read the passage before answering the questions. So, step number 1 for improving your score on the Science section is to skip the passage and start answering questions right away, unless it's the Opposing Viewpoints passage. Now, pause the video, write down step 1 in your notes. Step 2 is to remember that the Science section of the ACT isn't really a science test. You don't actually need to be good at your science classes or really remember that much from your science classes to do well on this section of the test. Only 4 or 5 questions on the test will actually require you to have any background knowledge of science. Background knowledge like cell biology or DNA or experimental design. All of the other questions can be answered based on the graphs in the passage. So whether you know a lot about science or you don't know that much at all, you can do really well on the ACT Science section because it's more like a problem-solving test than a science test. Let me give you an example. The students eventually performed an additional trial using 3-gram marbles at an angle incline of 75 degrees. For this trial, the recorded velocity would most likely be what? In order to answer this question, I could read the entire Confusing Science passage with terminology and equations, or I could just look at the graph and see that as the angle increases, the speed of the object also increases. So the answer choice is D, greater than 2.07 meters per second. Now, this isn't very scientific, but it is problem solving, and that's what you need to do in order to do well on the ACT Science section. So, write down step 2 in your notes. Solve the problem in front of you. Don't worry about understanding the science behind it. And step 3 is to practice using the Learn section of the ACT Study Guide. After you take each practice section, review the questions you missed, and then try again. The very best way to increase your score in the Science section is to take practice questions so that you can get used to thinking about the test as a problem-solving test instead of a science test. So be sure to use all practice materials and review the questions you miss.